Leo, a weary traveling architect, arrived at the luxury Grand Aethelgard Hotel in rural Montana at 2 a.m. The lobby was unnaturally silent, smelling of expensive lilies and old floor wax. The concierge, a man with skin as pale as parchment and eyes that didn't seem to blink, handed him a heavy brass key for room 404. "Enjoy your stay, Mr. Vance," the man whispered. "And remember, if the clock stops, don't look under the bed." Room 404 was stunning, filled with velvet curtains and gold leaf furniture. But the moment Leo closed the door, the ambient noise of the hallway vanished instantly. It wasn't just quiet. It was as if the world outside had ceased to exist. He went to the window to see the mountains, but instead of the night sky, the glass showed only a solid, unmoving gray void. The hotel wasn't just isolated. It felt disconnected from reality. While unpacking, Leo noticed the ornate grandfather clock in the corner. Its pendulum swung with a heavy, metallic thud. Suddenly, the thudding stopped. The second hand froze exactly at 3:03 a.m. A cold shiver raced down Leo's spine as the temperature in the room plummeted. The silence was broken by a wet, scratching sound coming from directly beneath his feet, right under the mahogany bed frame. Remembering the concierge's warning, Leo stayed frozen on the sofa. But curiosity is a cruel master. He knelt down, his heart hammering against his ribs, and lifted the edge of the silk bedskirt. There was no monster, just a single, old-fashioned Polaroid photo face down. He picked it up. As the image developed, he saw a photo of himself, sitting on the sofa just 10 seconds ago. But in the photo, a shadowy hand was reaching out from the curtains behind his head. Leo bolted for the door, but when he swung it open, he wasn't in the hallway. He was back inside room 404. He tried again, sprinting through the door, only to find himself standing by the same velvet curtains once more. Every exit led back to the center of the room. He was trapped in a spatial loop, a 5-star prison where time had died at 3:03 a.m. The wallpaper began to peel away in long, wet strips, revealing not brick or wood, but layers of old newspapers from the 1920s. The headlines all read the same. "Guest in 404 vanishes without a trace." Suddenly, muffled voices started whispering from behind the walls, hundreds of them, all crying out for a way out. They weren't ghosts. They were the expired, previous guests who had failed to stay away from the bed. Leo turned to the mirror, but his reflection was moving 5 seconds slower than he was. His reflection stared at him with a grin that was too wide, teeth too sharp. The reflection reached out of the glass, its gray fingers brushing against Leo's real skin. The touch was like ice, burning and freezing at the same time. His reflection was trying to swap places with him, to pull him into the silver world of the mirror. The luxury furniture began to distort. The velvet curtains turned into heavy, wet tongues. The gold leaf carvings turned into rows of jagged teeth. The room was a living organism, and Leo was the meal. The floorboards began to soften like quicksand, pulling his boots down into a dark, viscous liquid that smelled of copper and rot. The rotary phone on the nightstand rang. Leo answered it, desperate for any human contact. A voice on the other end, his own voice, but older and terrified, screamed, "Don't answer the door when the concierge knocks. He's not bringing towels." The line went dead with a sound like bone snapping. 3 heavy, rhythmic knocks echoed through the room. Boom, boom, boom. The door, which Leo couldn't use to escape, began to creak open on its own. A tall, thin shadow stretched across the floor, its fingers unnaturally long. The concierge was standing there, but his face was now just a smooth, featureless surface of pale skin. Leo realized his memories were fading. He couldn't remember his mother's name or his home address. The room was expiring his life, erasing his history to make room for the next guest. He grabbed a pen and tried to write his name on his arm, but the ink turned into black smoke and drifted away. Suddenly, the room flipped 90 degrees. Leo fell against the wall, which was now the floor. The grandfather clock crashed into the wardrobe. Gravity became erratic, pulling him toward the ceiling and then slamming him back down. The room was losing its physical stability as it prepared to reset. Another Polaroid ejected from under the bed, sliding across the tilted floor. Leo grabbed it. The photo showed the concierge standing directly behind him, his long fingers inches from Leo's neck. Leo turned around, but there was no one there. The camera was seeing the future, or perhaps a different layer of the present. The shadows converged in the center of the room, forming a dark vortex. A voice boomed from the void. To leave, you must leave something behind. Leo looked at the mirror, then at the door. He understood. He reached into the mirror and grabbed his slow-moving reflection, pulling it out and throwing it into the vortex. The room shrieked in 1,000 voices as it consumed the duplicate. Leo woke up gasping for air in his car, parked in a dusty lot in Montana. It was 6 a.m. The Grand Aethelgard hotel was nowhere to be seen. Only a ruined, burnt-out foundation of a building that had been gone for 50 years. In his pocket, he found a heavy brass key with the number 404, and on his arm, a faint, scarred tattoo that he didn't remember getting. Stay expired.